Welcome to Bashy's Corner. We invite guests and talk with them about ethnic minorities, their position in Danish society, how they are integrated, how they participate. The reason we make this program in English is that mainstream media often does not take those issues which we do on this program. And you will see when I start talking with my guest today. When Denmark allowed immigration and let people come in 60s and until 1973, it lured many unskilled and some skilled people to this country, and very few also with very high education. But most of them stayed, even if their dream was to come here, earn some money, and then go back. They established their families. They started businesses. Some got good jobs, some worked in factories, some bought properties. It means that they established themselves in their new homeland. My guest today is one such distinguished person. His name is Mohey Eldin Gharib. Did I pronounce right? He is an engineer by profession, writer and author of several books, both in Arabic and in English. He also contributes to a blog which I personally don't like, but that we can discuss with him later. He believes on issues of freedom of expression, Islam and democracy. So welcome to my program, Mr. Gharib. I'm always very interested in people's names. They say a lot to me, who they are. What does the word Gharib mean?
It means stranger.
In Pakistan, it means poor.
Yes, I heard that, yes. Right.
Okay. Yeah. You graduated in 1968 from Ain Shams, a prestigious university in Egypt. You worked as civil engineer. And before you moved to Denmark, you had a good position. Why not you stuck in Egypt and be something?
Yeah, that is be likely, and it will be the best. But in that time, if you back to 1976, when the war, after this year, all the young people being very desperate because we lost this war.
Against Israel.
Against Israel, and backing with America. So it was very difficult to win, and even the next war, it's a political winner. Anyway, it was very desperate, which make a lot of people immigrated out. Which
the educated ones.
Everybody actually tried, because was really shock after all this year with the regime. Yeah. So actually, we surprised that we lost the economic getting back and so. So that there's no one actually in the young people want to stay until they have a chance to go
at
out.
that time.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that you build roads, you build bridges for the military, and you are quite successful. Why didn't you have a job in a civilian job?
Actually, I got one when I graduated in 1968.
Yes.
A very good one. But as I told you, being very desperate about what happened, make you think maybe it was wrong, but make you think to immigrate out. It was forbidden to immigrate outside. But during these 2 years before I could immigrate, it was 2 years I've been working. The whole country was preparing a war. So it's under the commando of the military. By law, you should all the enterprise, all the contractor have to be under the command of the military.
It was during Sadat's time?
It was still Nasser time. Actually, Nasser time when a few months after I came here.
You came to Denmark in 1970, and you talked about that. But what was your reason? Because as I say, you got a job, you had fine.
The reason, again, I was desperate. I was have problem with democracy. in that time.
You were politically active also?
I wasn't really political, but everybody, if you try to see, since I've been born at the end of the World War II, Second War, and then in 1948 we have a war again in the area. In 1952 we have a revolution with the military. In 1956 we have a war with Israel and Britain and France. And
over Suez Canal.
Over Suez Canal. And in 61 we involved in Yemen, which also the economic was bad. And then 67 gram. And since all, so actually you produce young people through all these things, have to be political, have to be...
Yes. And you were tired of wars?
Tired of war, tired of lie, tired of military.
Okay. So you moved to Denmark. Why Denmark?
Actually, it was very excellent. We don't know anything about Denmark, even in the map, because it's very small, so we always see Sweden and say Sweden is Denmark. We don't know anything about it. But it was an advantage that Denmark, one among the country which give 3 months visa. It was forbidden to immigrate from. So you have to go any places outside in Europe and then apply for immigrant. And what most of us actually did that.
So when you came to Denmark, did you get a job right away?
It was no problem. I was immediately applied to immigrated, and I get from Canada a green card and everything. But it was too late because I fall in love with Denmark. By only few months, I got a job, job exactly in my profession, and I felt very neutral. Denmark was completely different. Also, if you remember, also
I remember very well because I came from Canada as a tourist at that time.
So it was more beautiful, more calm, more neutral.
Yes, and I miss that very much.
Yes,
I can see that you worked for Danish Railways, Danish DSB, for many years, from 1970 to 2006. What did you do there?
I'm working as a civil engineer and building a bridge, starting from calculating the designing and calculating, and then perform it, and then constructed, and then in the last few years, then I'm managing the maintenance of the bridges.
Okay, and was okay with your Danish colleagues? They didn't say, who is this person?
It wasn't completely, maybe in the contrary, they were always accepting me, and that was no required to speak Danish or anything like that. I've been writing for 4 years the report and all my work in English, and they were very happy. Was no discrimination, was no so ever.
So, what was the difference working in Egypt at that time? I mean, and here professionally.
Well, I've been only 2 years in working in Egypt, but it was enough to just to can see that is the teamwork here is the teamwork and the accuracy and the budget. These 3 factors make you a good engineer, make you can proper engineer work very good and have a good career and
no bribes, nothing.
That is, of course, that's I haven't tried that in Egypt because it's 2 years. It was I was so young to.
And the quality of work is very high in Denmark.
Very high. The technology they follow, they actually paid so many money for that.
While you worked as an engineer, but you were also writing books, you were writing articles, commentaries, both in Danish media and also in Arabic newspaper. What subject did interest you?
Actually, because I come from this background in Egypt after all this, so I was interested, of course, democracy, which I missed very much. The democracy and the human right. Which is lead to policy, of course. You can't do that without. So I've been involved. I've been, in fact, fighting for 40 years for democracy in any country, but particularly in my Egypt country.
Okay. As you say yourself that you have been involved, when I read what you write, also your books, I didn't read all of them, but one of them, your writings are very politically consciousness and about society issues, you know. It's not so much romance. Have you always been interested in politics and what the society is doing?
Actually, you can see it's getting my interest, but the background I come from, the suffering I suffered, all my young, they have to produce one like that. Of course, it's not everyone has the talent to write and have the patience to do, but I actually, unfortunately, I have this talent to write.
Well, it's very fortunate. Yeah. I mean, you articulate very well. How many books have you written until now?
I wrote 5 books.
Okay.
But I published 6.
Okay.
Most of them, all of them in Arabic, only one
in English. We'll talk about that.
Sure.
Yes. Can you briefly talk about the topics of each book? You know, just you know. If
Well, that is the book here. This one is a guide about Egypt.
Okay, that is for tourists.
And that is even it is it's not my, but I review that. It's not. I didn't wrote it.
Okay, so this is the second one.
I review that and I correct many mistakes about Muslim and about Egypt and about history.
Okay.
The second one it's Pharaoh in Denmark, and this one in Arabic also I did it, but it's about my experience. That was in 2000. This one was in 1991.
That's right. Yes.
That's 2000. So I get some experience, so I can actually speak about racism, discrimination, and
you compare that with pharaohs in Egypt?
No, because I talk about the Egyptian experiment, because that is the near to me. And I comparing with Pharaoh because it's typical. The Egyptian have some characteristic from the Pharaoh.
Okay.
Bad characteristic and good characteristic from Pharaoh. And this one actually, it's me. The name is Thus We Talked.
Okay, that we talked.
That we defend. I'm defending singing in Egypt. They say the immigrant young people or the immigrant in general, they don't have the right to interfere, to talk about their native country because they live abroad and they have don't feel the same like we do. That's defending this, and I said that no, we feel the same. The only difference that we see the problem different angle, which can be very useful to Egypt. Exactly. And that's also applied for any country because it's the same, I think, maybe in Pakistan, the same in any way.
Okay.
They always refuse to people from outside difference.
And
that's when I get very desperate about something happened. That was in 2000, the end of 2010, and I said I will not write any about political. It's a hopeless case in Egypt. They will never get democracy there. So I turned to write science fiction. That's only one science fiction book I wrote because I would like to go away from everything. But 2 months after I did that, 2 months after I published that, finished that, the revolution, the Arab Spring came.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And then this very
that's
interesting book.
That's the last one. Is the name The Trial. That's in 2016.
Yes.
A few months ago. This book is a dialogue, as you know, between a religion one and atheist, which they have a philosophic point of view,
Okay.
and we can talk details
Sure.
about. Yeah.
Well, I want to come to the most important book which I will like to discuss with you.
Yeah.
It is about the Danish caricature of Holy Prophet Muhammad. It is in English language. So what was the reason that you wrote this book?
Actually, I wrote it in Arabic. I don't have the copy here, but I wrote it in Arabic
it's translated,
and then translated to Denmark, and I hope I have a sponsor to translate it in Danish somehow.
Yes.
The reason is that I found it's a duty to say something during this crisis. This crisis was very hard. It's a crisis, I think the parliament consider it as the first crisis or the biggest crisis after the Second War.
In Denmark?
In Denmark.
Yes.
They, all the political think it's like that. So I thought that I have to say what I should say, especially I am not very religious. So I said maybe I'm neutral. In the same time, been lived here for many years,
Yes.
so I can be neutral between the Danish and the Muslim
From both sides.
to see from both sides and to criticize both sides as possible as I can, and that's what I did.
I have read this book very minutely. I have been myself involved in a lot of discussions, and I have my own views on racism and why this book was written. So I would like to hear from you, as you say, you are neutral, seen from a Muslim perspective and from Danish perspective. So what is your conclusion?
The conclusion actually all inspired. The killing happened, the wasting of money happened, the wasting of time. Inspired that, but you get benefit two things: one for the Muslim world and one for European and specific.
What benefit?
The benefit for the Muslim world is they learned that matter like freedom of speech is part of the democracy and very necessary, and we have to and they have to accept that and have to realize that it's very necessary to look at different way in the future.
So let me ask you then, because in Danish constitution, it says very clearly that everybody has a right to express themselves, both in writing and in verbally, but, and there's a very big but, under responsibility of the law.
Of course.
Now, when you write something like this, then you also have responsibility to explain to people the reasons. Because what I understand is that the newspaper, Jyllands-Posten, they did not have the right reason to do, and the way they publish it, the way then they said it's our right to offend Muslims. Don't you think that the Muslims are also right to be offended?
No, actually, the conclusion, now we talk about conclusions, that's, it's benefit the world and benefit also the Danish, especially, and European in general.
They realized
that they have to know that your freedom is end when the other freedom start. Beautiful. And that is what I emphasize here very much, that it's not likely, it's insulting to anybody to put a turban shaped like a bomb in me, in any person. It's insulting. But how it is when it is upon in profit, which they are respected with 1.4 billion.
Let's come back. I'm very happy that you say that, because it's very important what you just said, that my freedom stops where your freedom starts. I don't want to get into blame game, but I think that both Danish Prime Minister, the ambassadors, the violence, terrible violence in many Muslim countries, that all hopefully have made people realize certain things. Let's come back to your book, Al-Ziyara, The Visit. It's in Arabic, it's a science fiction novel. What did you predict in that book?
As I told you, that I wrote it when I was desperate and felt hopeless that something happened in Egypt getting democracy or get rid from the military and so. So I start to write this science fiction. It is actually briefly. It's about it's science fiction. It's the year. It's 2090.
Okay.
So it's the end of
the
this
future.
20 in the future. Yeah. After in 1937, it's War III happened because religion. In 1937, that's my predict that will happen a war, a big war, because the religion. But now after that, it's happened that is a violent volcanic happened inside in the sun.
Yes.
And the separate part of it, of the sun, to move and stay in the other end of the universe.
Okay.
And that makes that our Earth, have 24-hour sun, which is completely make a revolution
burns,
in our, except only slight part in Africa, because the angle. So it's still they can sleep night, and then the visit here. The visit is like pilgrim. It's like Mecca. Everybody have the right by law to go and experience night.
So it ends good.
It's just like that.
Okay. Let's get back to your other interests. You like music.
Yes.
And you also sing, I think.
No, not singing. No,
okay, music.
Not singing, just music. Yeah.
How about your other passion, painting?
Painting, it's a hobby. It's only a hobby. Yes,
okay.
It's nothing.
I understand that you're also coordinating Egyptian immigrants in Denmark. Are there many Egyptians in Denmark?
Actually, not that much. We are only 500 family. 500 families? Yeah, family, about 2,000 something. And most of them, it's Danish citizens.
Okay.
And a part of them also marriage with Danish, so actually they have a family. So they are better integrated, but still part of them, which is out of live the parallel society.
Okay. Yeah. Now I want to discuss with you something which you have experienced and which you have written a lot about. The Arab Spring in Egypt. It started from Tunisia, it moved to Egypt, but Egypt was in Tahrir Square. When it started, how did you feel?
Actually, I was lucky because I was there.
Oh, you were in Egypt?
I was there in these 2 months because usually I go in winter time and stay there. I was experience every minute in it, and I enjoyed every minute in it. It was huge and experience, and make you relief and make you really pleased that happened before I died.
But why did it fail?
It's failed because, and it's failed actually 2-3 after 1.5 years after that, because the old regime hidden and come back to make people choose either between radical Islam or military again. And the people, most of people prefer the military if you have to choose.
But it's a Muslim Brotherhood.
Then the radical Islam, because they want indirectly to apply Sharia and make all these things which is not suit.
But do you think that the Western style democracy can be used in countries like Pakistan and Egypt and other countries? They have a different situation.
I wrote that so many articles about that. And
now, what is your position on that?
Actually no difference. The democracy in principle is the same. You can apply it in anywhere. Of course, you have to produce it in different way, considering the culture, religion, and so on.
Exactly.
But
and education of the people.
And education. But I'm against that. You say no, Egypt or Pakistan have to wait a little bit because there is no place for democracy. I am completely against that.
Okay.
Democracy, you can make it any spot.
Right.
Willing.
Okay.
To do.
But you also know that America and many Western countries don't want Egypt and other countries be democratic, and you saw the role they played, you know.
I don't believe with the conspiracy theory.
No, it's not a conspiracy theory, but to bring back Mubarak, you know.
Yeah, but maybe they want that. But if you don't have the willing, of course they can do whatever they want.
Then you also write articles, many articles for a very right wing, in my opinion, blog called 100 Degrees, 180 Degrees.
Yes, yeah.
And aren't you afraid that you will be used as an alibi by them?
Yeah. For first, it's not article. It's it's comment, small laser print. Yeah. But I intentionally did that because when you are inside between them, actually you can explain much better, and you.
But they are right-wing people. They hate minorities.
No. But here when the Muslim did something wrong, I have to admit that, and I admit that many times when they did wrong, and when they did good, of course I have to admit that.
Okay.
But when you are inside them, they will believe you.
I have tried that too, that blog. Anyway, if you have to advise the Danish government on integration, okay, of minorities, both religious and ethnic minorities, what would you say to them? 1 minute.
Integration.
Yes.
I'm really. They have no choice, only to integrate children and grandchildren. Integrate more in the. We live in the best country in the world.
Yes, definitely.
Number one in the happiness. Number one in the fighting corruption, and among the first top places in the welfare and the health. So to get benefit of that, you have to involve more, you have to integrate more.
But that is you are saying to the minorities, but what should Danish government do? Should make them open?
Not if you talk about the refugee. In the end, I actually not against that. The refugee, you can help them. The Denmark and European stealing the qualified people from Syria and from Iraq, and have them job here. But if you give this help, which is more than 200,000 Danish krona per you can actually use it for 9 persons around the borders there.
We can take that issue another time, because we have run out of time. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your wonderful view.
Thank you.
And I also next week will bring another program, and I hope that what Mr. Gharib said, it has opened eyes for many of our views. Until next time, take good care of yourself.